Hello,
Hello, hello,
hello,
hello,
hello,
Hello.
hello,
hello,
John. It is
hello,
a pleasure
hello,
to see you. So we are
hello.
here, son
Yes,
of us.
Sheila. Yes. Uh, thank you, thank you.
So we have been during some time before speaking about the next year conference. We have some speech with Thomas Mack, but now is the time with Joan Ciula. It is a pleasure to see you again. I think that maybe you see us with this mask. It is because in Spain we need to be like that. We are separate here, but we need to use that one. So I hope that we could manage to organize the next year conference because we were so happy with our results. We have 37 tracks, 9 panels, and more than 200 papers, 3 invited speakers, and many different events, Guggenheim's dinner, and many other things. So we are a bit sad about this result, but we are going to keep on the next year conference again. So it was the reason to organize this type of kickoff conference to maintain the tension, to say, hey, here we are, you are not alone, you are a ISBE member, and we want to continue with this task. It is not easy, but we are going to do our best. So in this line, I think that you are a figure of ISB because you are the ex-president, and we met before in USA, in Richmond. So from my point of view, it is a pleasure if you could speak with us, say something about the future, about the situation, about the leadership, because before they were speaking about the change of the leadership, and you are the main expert from our point of view in this line. So we were so happy to listen to you in these other different aspects. So your time, try to say something. Thank you, Viola, to speak with us.
Well, it's lovely to see you. And I actually almost didn't recognize you with your mask and I think your hair looks different. But there you are. Well, I don't need to wear a mask because I am in my apartment. So we don't have to wear them in our apartments. But in New York City, everybody always wears a mask. You don't see anyone on the street without one. We've been locked down longer than any place in the United States. We still have not reopened restaurants and bars because we're being very careful about all of this. As you know, a lot of other parts of the country, because of our very strange leadership and political situation, politics has actually overtaken logic and science and reason in some places. And that's why we have so many terrible cases of this horrible virus in our country. But I'm delighted to see you and to talk with all of you. I'm very excited about ISBE. I think you made the right choice in not having the conference virtually. It's nice to see people all the time, but I think that the whole point of these conferences is actually to have face-to-face interactions with each other. And in some ways, I think you'll agree, it's talking to each other at the conferences, not as, that is almost more important than the presentations themselves. So I am really looking forward to ISBE next year. I think we've got a great program. I was looking over the various presentations. Some of us, I know my group is, I just made a little videotape about my track. Some of us will probably revise what we've done for next year, but most of my group is still going to come. So we're very excited about that. ISBE is such a unique organization in that it is really one of the few truly international groups of business ethics scholars. And for those of you who have never attended an ISBE meeting, I will tell you it's a unique experience because you get to interact with so many different people from different parts of the world. So if you have questions or particular issues you'd like me to address, please ask me and I'd be happy to talk to you about them.
I need to change that one. So it's because I'm in two different cameras. So I don't know if someone there want to ask something, that they are some of us. We are there online. I don't know if they want to talk about it. Not yet. So maybe I could make some question, of course. I want to know your opinion about the leadership, because they have been speaking about the leadership had changed. It's going to be changed. We were worried about the women aspect, the ethics aspects, and now seems that it's the health leadership seems that changed everything. So of course that one is the question about, so your opinion, your ideas, your own ideas, it will be great to listen. So
well, this is a very rich topic. I can say quite a bit about it. As the world knows, America is having tremendous difficulties because our president is not only doing a very bad job of handling this pandemic, but he has failed to pull together the country. And in a way, we're like Europe in the miniature. If all of the states don't coordinate with each other, it's very hard to keep the virus under control. And he's been unable to do that. He has sent mixed messages. The other day was the first time anybody saw him wear a mask. Many of the Republican governors in states in the US, one Republican governor from Georgia just said today that he forbid anyone from requiring people to wear masks, which is an incredibly dangerous thing. We are all hopeful about the elections in November because the quality of American leadership has been so bad that it's had international ramifications. It's affected many things in terms of how the world could work together. And so bad leaders, what we're discovering, and certainly I'll be wanting to write about this for many years to come, but what you discover is in countries or organizations where the system is working well, it's well organized, you can tolerate bad leaders. You can put up with them for a while. America had a lot of problems before Trump was elected, and that's one of the reasons he was elected. And of course, now all of those problems have been magnified. But the true test of leaders is how they behave in crises. So if there's no crisis, you can be a very average leader and it doesn't matter. But here we see that it's interesting to watch which leaders are able to handle the crises well and which are not. The governor of New York State has done a very, very good job. New York City has done a very, very good job. I mean, we have 9 million people in this city, and every single person you see on the street, maybe with a few exceptions, is wearing a mask. So we have been very, very careful about it. Other states have done well. Other states have done very poorly. So this is a huge problem for leadership. And then when we extend that to look around the world, we see that leaders, populist leaders similar to Trump, are having the same problems. And here I think about Brazil. Brazil is having a horrible epidemic, and their leader has actually gotten it. So it's an interesting irony, isn't it? But the places that have had leaders who have not acted decisively, have not cared enough about their people to really take precautions, these countries are suffering and will continue to suffer until the situation becomes so bad that their leaders have to give in. And that's we're seeing in some parts of the United States, is in Texas and Arizona. Those leaders didn't think, they didn't want to close down the economy. They didn't take this very seriously. And Florida is among the worst. They are really suffering. So this is going to be, I think, one of the most, this pandemic is going to be one of the most fascinating leadership studies that we have had in recent history. And it will be interesting to see what we learn from it. And if we learn from it, that's the other big thing. Because I think, now it's a pandemic, but of course, we all know in our hearts that the next big crisis is probably going to be an environmental one. And how nations and leaders and organizations deal with that crisis and do what they can to stop it is going to be very important as well. So I almost see this COVID-19 as a practice for probably what could be one of the great environmental crises in our lifetime. And it could be a crisis of water, it could be a crisis of global warming, flooding. It can be nationally. We've already seen Siberia is burning up. It's so hot. We see different countries suffering from it. So all of these things, I think, are some of the greatest challenges for leaders. When we look at organizational leaders and business, of course, that's what our focus is at ISBE. When we look at those leaders, I think the important thing will be their ability to think much broader than the quarterly reports, which unfortunately is the way public companies have been thinking for a long time. So leadership is definitely on the table. In some ways, Trump is not a very interesting leader. My presentation next year will be on Trump and resentment, how he's managed to make people feel in ways that act against their own self-interest. But I mean, Trump in some ways isn't that interesting because he really is a very psychologically damaged human being. The more interesting ones are the ones who aren't quite that damaged, who aren't quite, I mean, we had a long quote from him in the paper yesterday from a press conference, which is a very long paragraph that is virtually unintelligible. You cannot understand what he's talking about because it makes no sense at all. So he is so far over to the side. In some ways, I find him less interesting. The really interesting question, especially of populist leaders, is not as much about the leaders as their followers and what's going on in society that makes certain leaders come into power in certain periods of history. So those are the kinds of things I'm interested in terms of ethics and leadership.
Thank you so much. I have another question, not related to leadership now, but about of substitution of many of different things with online, like teaching online or maybe conferences online. Everything will be done, but we never know if people is listening there or just we are there speaking with the laptop. So sort of like our feeling is like I'm alone here speaking with the laptop. So I'm a lot. We are so worried about this effect on people because our relationship, our culture, it is based on this relationship.
Right.
So because of that, we are going to lose a lot of information. So all of the time I'm thinking that I'm speaking, but my muscles in my hands, they are not. You cannot see there.
Yeah.
Then so because of that, you lost a lot of information. So I'm lost of trying to communicate with you with this mask.
Yeah.
So because of that, we have a lot of effects, not only in the communication, but also on the relationship, on the future of the young people that in the future they are going to understand maybe things in a different way. So what's your opinion about all of this online change or virtual change? I don't know how to call that one.
Yeah, well, our university will be online in the fall, so we're going to have to do this again. Especially teach something like business ethics or any management course, any course that has to do with people. I think those courses really suffer. What makes me somewhat angry is when the people who are very excited about online learning are people who are teaching very different kinds of subjects that don't require a lot of discussion, don't talk about people and how they interact and emotions and things like that. But a course like business ethics really suffers online when you can't see people's faces. This next semester, I usually teach MBA students, and they're older, and but it's very difficult for them to turn. They won't turn their cameras on very often. Sometimes they don't want people to see where they live, and their hair doesn't look good. They have all sorts of problems. With the undergraduates, one of the things my colleagues have done is insist that they turn their cameras on so we can see them. And since they are at home, they don't have to wear masks. It's just, you know, when we go to the office, we have to wear masks. I assume you're at your office. Are you at your office? Are you at your office, Lyra?
No, we are here. I'm going to try to solve with my laptop because we are.
Oh, okay. All right. Now I understand. Yes, so you have to, hello, everybody. Nice to see you.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello. Okay. Okay, so now I understand why you have a mask on.
Yeah, because of that we need to use the mask. But for us was important so to get this relationship, real relationship,
Right.
because we have spent around 4 months speaking all together.
Yeah.
Because of the subject, because of teaching, because many of the different tasks that we have, we see each other, but it's not the same. We are here, we spent around 3-4 hours together. We have a small lunch, and
Right.
that's have some sense for us.
Yeah.
That one means that we are together. We are not only with the laptop in our house,
Mhm.
that it is the feeling that we have. So because of that, it is important for us to get these conferences, not only online, but in person, if we can at least,
Yeah.
or teaching in person, because that means any different
Right.
motivation for students, motivation for teaching,
Right.
motivation for the future to understand, because that one is the collaboration. I think that it is the base of the collaboration to see each other, the real people. So
Yeah.
you see that we are there. We are only 10, more or less. So it is a big room for, I don't know, maybe 70 or 100.
Yeah.
But there are many different rules, so we need to get around 1.5 meters or 2 meters between us.
Uh-huh.
And from today, we need to use the mask. So yesterday was not necessary, but today they have changed. And who knows tomorrow what is going on? All of the time they change their decisions in Spain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but we are okay, all of us. So that one is the most important, that we are safe, we and our families. So I think that one is most of the. And we are so happy to continue with the next year conference.
Yeah.
So we want to get this tension. We want to try to encourage people to continue doing their work, because I think that maybe we'll relax a bit
Right.
in these conferences. So it was one of the reasons to try to do this type of things, to say people, we are here, we are doing, if you need something,
Right.
it is okay.
Yeah.
We have some ideas about the new title. So Thomas Mack have presented before to try to change a bit to the situation.
Mm-hmm.
We are thinking about to maintain the web page. For the moment, it is ISBE, it is ehu.es, but then maintain ISBE 2020. It is easy for us, and I think that people maybe they have used before, but we are open to do any of the different things.
Mm-hmm.
So in this line, I think that any of the suggestions, ideas to try to connect with people. So here it's one of the most important part is to encourage people to maintain the contribution to ISBE in this case. I think that they have aligned a lot the subjects, the ideas. We are worried about sustainability. We are worried about ethical point of view, ethics in research, ethics in leadership, gender and ethics, ethical in management issues, in ethics in finance, in microfinance, in social value. So I think that never before we were that worried all of the time thinking about that one. So I think that it is our moment, I think. I don't know if you have some suggestion in this line.
Well, it's definitely our moment, and certainly the questions about race are really important, and discrimination, and um, rethinking the world, because there's bigger questions we may want to consider. I mean, between the financial crisis and this one, we may have to rethink uh, capitalism. What does capitalism look like? I was just doing a little video clip for the Society for Business Ethics because it's their 40th anniversary, and talking about what the future looks like. And when I started in business ethics, that was back in 1984. And back then, we talked a lot about the nature of capitalism. And then after that, it wasn't really as much a part of the business ethics literature until the financial crisis. And with this crisis, there are a lot of questions because, of course, we're seeing huge unemployment rates. We're seeing how employers have behaved. We're seeing who gets the money. Unfortunately, because our government has become so corrupt, a lot of the very large corporations have gotten the money, and a lot of the small businesses have not gotten money. We're bailing out airlines and other things, but not people who own family stores and restaurants and stuff. I mean, they get some money, but they don't get the millions and millions of dollars we're giving other places. So I think we'll want to talk about that. We'll want to talk about race. Globalization has changed too. So that's another really big issue. You know, I remember how joyous it was. I mean, I love globalization, where you just went all over the world and everything seemed open. I mean, I look back very sadly that it seems to be shrinking. So what's going to happen when you have increasing nationalism? What's going to happen when a lot of countries like the US, for example, there's a movement to try to produce our own goods at home. So that would mean less trade. Immigration is still a huge issue for everybody. So I mean, and those are the kinds of issues that ISBE is especially the right place to talk about how we relate to each other across boundaries, across country boundaries. So I think that's going to be something that's very exciting. And we need to, I think, just to promote it, is to keep emphasizing that this is it is the unique place you can go and talk about these issues with people who actually are from a variety of places, which leads me to my other suggestion, is that now that you have more time, I know these are difficult times, but the other unique feature of ISBE is our ability to raise some money so that people from poorer countries can come to the meeting. That's probably one of the most important things we do, is make sure we have those funds. And Thomas knows that, and I think we all know that if we can't have people from, I mean, you can't keep going to conferences where everybody's either from America or Western Europe or Australia or Canada or any place like that. So I hope that we'll be able to raise enough so there is that fund there, because I know how grateful people are that can come. And boy, they added, I mean, I think back to the meeting we had in Shanghai, and some of the panels were extraordinary. I mean, we had panels where you had people from South America and Africa and other places talking about what we call the BRICS, right? The BRIC countries, Brazil, and these people just can't, you know, immediately, and especially we don't know what their universities are going to look like. Some of these universities, you know, in America, some universities are going to go out of business because of this pandemic. And a lot of schools are worried because, you know, it's very expensive to go to school in America, and people may not want to pay for online learning the same way they paid to show up in person. So anyway, I think those are the things that we need to keep pushing and impressing people with as we move forward to get them to come next year.
Thank you so much. I suppose that any other question or comments? No, they are not coming. So.
I have one.
Huh?
Yes. Hi,
okay,
Joanne. I'm
Carolyn.
Carolyn, and I'm from Singapore. So you see, our world is shrinking. We are, we're connected, and I'm happy to meet you face to face or screen to screen, as we would say. I can't put my camera on, not because my hair is not nice or the room I'm in is not nice. The camera doesn't want to work. I don't know why. It was working all day during my lectures, but now it's decided it doesn't want me to show my face. But nice to see you, and I have all your books. I'm a yes, I'm a mature. Well, I went back to school, and did my PhD when I was 50 years old. So, and I knew what I wanted to do. I knew it's going to be responsible leadership, and very much what you've been writing about for years, the tension between effectiveness and responsibility, and when you were just discussing how classes can be difficult because students don't want to interact, or they don't want to turn on their videos. But I teach ethics, I teach corporate governance and CSR, and just had a class today. What I maybe just to share a little bit, what I do with them is show them terrible videos, show them awful videos. Like today, I showed them, because we're talking about how MNCs behave, how we behave when we go into developing countries. So I show them terrible videos about, of the forest burning in Brazil, and the animals trying to rush out of the forest. And I showed them one today on the Rana Plaza collapse, and a really graphic one with dead people crushed under the buildings, and they go, oh, that is terrible, and then everybody turns on their microphones and starts talking. So maybe that's a way, for all of us academics, that's how I keep them entertained. I have to teach online for 3 hours at a go. So it's a pretty long, yeah, it's a pretty long class, and it's really it's difficult to keep their attention. So, YouTube videos are the best way to do that, and I think it's also more visual, so they see, how awful it can be. Today they watched the Japanese whalers, harpooning a beautiful whale, and then because it didn't die, they took the machine gun out and shot it hundreds of times to kill it. And they go, oh my God, that's terrible. What are they doing? And I go, this is leadership. This is what happens when leadership is not, when it's irresponsible, when it's not managed, right? When it's not enforced. Oh my gosh, this can't be done, and so this is what I think, just to share, this is some of the stuff that we do. And I really hope to meet you next year. It will be my first ISBE conference, as an academic now. I used to be in business. I used to run my own business for 30 years. So, hey, next year we meet face to face, not screen to screen.
I hope so.
Thank you very much for being here. Yes.
Lovely to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Caroline, and thank you so much, Joanne. I think that it is a pleasure to listen to you and try to encourage people in this line with these topics that we need to carry on. We need to contribute from the academic, but also from the companies. We have here some people that they have participated before, because it is our challenge to try to encourage companies, experts to gain and to speak with all of you, because I think that all together we could make a great job. So thank you so much. And any other thing that you need, we are here. You will see that we are really, we are face to face here, not with all of you, but hope that next year we could do that one face to face and with time, relax, with some dinners, some events, everything. It is important, of course. Thank you so much.
Thank you all, and bye-bye, everyone. See you
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, you're welcome.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Welcome.
Bye.
Thank you.